Hello, Fernando.
Mr. President, how are you?
I am doing very well. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. On behalf of all the Que Bueno Network listeners throughout this whole beautiful state of Colorado, Z. Ferfino, the owner of this station, I want to welcome you, sir. Bienvenido.
Muchas gracias.
Let me start talking about the economy. Sir, undoubtedly no other president in modern American history has inherited such a challenging economic environment as you did. However, can you talk about the steps you've taken to get this country moving again, maybe underline 3 or 4 major accomplishments of your administration?
Well, you're right. When we came into office, we'd already lost 4 million jobs. We lost 800,000 jobs the month that I took office. And then before our economic policies had a chance to take effect, we had already lost 8 million jobs. The good news is that because of the Recovery Act that we put in place, putting people back to work, rebuilding our roads and our bridges, making sure that teachers were able to stay in the classroom, we were able to turn this around. We saved the auto industry, which was on the verge of liquidation. We doubled down on clean energy. And as a consequence, we've now seen 4 million jobs created, more than 4 million jobs over the last 2 years, almost 1 million created in the last 6 months. The unemployment rate has come down substantially since last year. Small businesses are starting to be able to get financing again. So we're making progress, but obviously we still have a lot of work to do. There are too many people out of work, too many homes that are still underwater. The big drag on the economy right now is the housing market, as well as some of the things that are going on in Europe. But we believe that we can continue to make progress. The key is going to be making sure that we don't go back to the same policies that got us into this mess in the first place.
Interesting, sir. There was someone who said 2 major accomplishments that President made. 1, he killed Osama. Number 2, he saved GMC.
Well, we saved GM, obviously making sure that we protect the American people, and because of the outstanding work of our military, we were able to get bin Laden. We were able to make sure that Al-Qaeda was weaker than it's ever been. We ended the war in Iraq. We're now transitioning out of Afghanistan. So we, on all these issues, have been making consistent progress. And then also what we've been trying to do is make sure that families are getting some of the relief that they need. So the health care bill disproportionately impacts the Latino community. People who work hard, sometimes 2, 3 jobs, but still don't have health insurance, they're going to be able to get affordable health insurance starting in 2014, as long as we continue to implement. And in the meantime, we've already got young people who are able to stay on their parents' health insurance plans, seniors who are able to reduce the amount of costs for their prescription drugs, preventive care for families. We were able to get immigrant children back on the Children's Health Insurance Program. That's 4 million children who are benefiting. So a lot of progress on those fronts as well. But we've got a lot of work to do. The key is we can't go back to the kinds of policies that got us into this mess where Wall Street banks can do whatever they please, and you have a situation in which insurance companies can deny you coverage because you have a pre-existing condition. We've got to strengthen the housing market. One of the things that we've been doing is helping the people to refinance so that they can lower their mortgage rates and stay in their home. That's obviously something of great concern to the Latino community. And then we've got to put people back to work. All those folks who were laid off from construction, we've got to make sure that they're now put to work rebuilding our roads, rebuilding our schools. In the Latino community in Colorado, you've got some great schools, but you've also got some kids who are still in substandard schools because the growth of the population hasn't been matched by the kind of school construction that we need.
Mr. President, if you allow me, let me move on to immigration, a very complicated issue that I know is important to the Hispanic community, and certainly it's important to you as well. I don't think anybody doubts the sincerity behind the promise of reform you made on April of 2008. However, some of my listeners are concerned, and I know that the Republican Party in Congress has not been helpful at all. How do we move forward from here? What can we do about the DREAM Act and immigration reform? Congressman Luis Gutierrez argues that perhaps you can sign executive orders. I don't know if this is possible.
Well, what is absolutely true is that I believe in comprehensive immigration reform. I believe that we have strengthened our borders. We have reduced the flow of undocumented workers, and so now we should match that with a compassionate policy for those families who are already living here to give them a pathway to citizenship. I think that's good for our country. I think it would be good for our economy. Unfortunately, we have not gotten any Republican cooperation. When it came to the DREAM Act, we had a vote in which we had the overwhelming majority of Democrats voted for it, not a single Republican who was willing to step up. And the problem we have is now that in the Senate, everything requires 60 votes because the Republicans filibuster. And in the absence of some Republican support, we've had difficulties. Now, the good news is that you've had some awareness, I think, among some Republicans that if they continue to insult and alienate the Latino community and other immigrant communities, that will cause them political problems. So hopefully we're going to start seeing some movement from them. In the meantime, what we're trying to do is everything we can administratively to make for a more humane policy, so that, for example, we've instructed ICE, the enforcement agency, don't focus on kids who are in school, don't focus on families who are not breaking criminal laws. Focus on criminals and gang leaders, those who really are hurting the community. And so we've seen a big shift towards enforcement away from families towards criminals. But those are temporary solutions. The kind of steps we can take administratively might provide some temporary relief, but they don't give us the certainty that action by Congress would take. And I think that all your listeners, as you consider the election, should be thinking, who, not just which president, but also, which member of Congress is going to be sincere in trying to advance this issue. And this is a big difference I have with Mr. Romney, who suggested that the law in Arizona somehow should be a model for the whole country, a law that allows people to be stopped and asked for their papers, as if somehow we were in a situation where everybody with a Spanish surname or who looked according to somebody as undocumented is pulled over. That kind of approach, I think, is absolutely the wrong one.
I agree, sir. I would be in deep trouble if that's the case.
Me too.
Let me quickly delve into foreign policy, sir, specifically as it pertains to Latin America. If re-elected, do you anticipate the United States of America playing a greater role in helping Mexico in the war of drugs?
Well, there's no doubt that Mexico needs continued support from us. Obviously, they're in the midst of an election, so we don't yet know what the policies of the next administration will be. But what we know is that the violence of the transnational drug trade has overwhelmed many local law enforcement agencies in Mexico. I think there's been courageous work by President Calderon in taking them on. We've tried to provide support while respecting Mexico's sovereignty, trying to provide training and advice and technical equipment to try to deal with this. But ultimately, this is a problem where we also have to take some responsibility inside the United States for reducing demand for drugs and preventing the flow of weapons and cash south, even as drugs come north. And so I've assigned my Justice Department, our various law enforcement agencies to be much more determined in stopping the flow of guns down south. And there's close cooperation between us and Mexico on this issue. I'm sure it will continue, whoever is elected in the next administration.
Mis amigos, estamos hablando con el presidente de los Estados Unidos, el señor honorable Barack Obama. Mr. President, you have outlined some of the steps you've taken to get this country moving again economically. As you know, Hispanic-owned small businesses are growing faster than the average business in the United States, and Latina-owned businesses are growing 3 times faster. Any steps you can take to help support the Hispanic small businesses in the United States and, of course, in Colorado?
Well, we've done an enormous amount. For small businesses generally, we've been championing, expanding financing through the Small Business Administration. In fact, this was one of the first steps that we took because small businesses were hit harder than large businesses after the crisis happened in 2008, 2009. So we really expanded the number of loans that were provided to small businesses. We have been focusing specifically on Latino and other minority and women-owned businesses. We're also providing training so that these businesses can expand and can grow. We're also, frankly, looking at how we make sure the federal government, when it's making purchasing decisions, that it opens up the bidding process to smaller businesses and not just large corporations. And so this is going to be a continuing priority for us. We're very proud of the track record we've made when it comes to our tax policies. We've cut taxes for small businesses 17 times since I've been in office. We want to keep their taxes low. We want to give them more support, and we want to make sure that they have access to financing. If we do that, that's going to be good for not only them, but that's going to be good for the country as a whole, because one of the great things about the Latino community is its entrepreneurship and its willingness to start small businesses. And in many communities that you see around the country, Latino small businesses have moved in and reinvigorated communities that had fallen on hard times. And it's a testimony to the hard work and the strong values of the Latino community.
Mr. President, I know you're a very busy man. For all I know, Vladimir Putin is calling you again, asking for your advice. Two more questions for you, sir. Number one, what do you anticipate as a sports fan for the Broncos and Peyton Manning and what's coming up in the NFL?
Well, I tell you what, you guys, I think, are going to be lucky to have Peyton Manning. It's a good fit. You already had an outstanding team, a great defense. To now have one of the best quarterbacks of all time, assuming he's healthy, I think is really going to be terrific.
Well, sir, once again, I want to stress my thankfulness for you joining us. I want you to know that the doors of this radio station are always open to you when you visit the state, even on May the 23rd when you're coming. And, well, if you would, please make your case to the voters, to my listeners, as in November we will have two choices to make. Please let my listeners know why they should vote for you again.
Well, Fernando, I think when you look at my track record, not only of helping the economy to slowly begin to come back from this terrible recession, but also my overall philosophy, which is making sure everybody is provided opportunity, that every kid has a good education, that all our young people are able to finance a college education, that small businesses are getting help, not just large businesses, that we are enforcing non-discrimination laws. My strong support for comprehensive immigration reform. The number of Latinos in leadership positions that I've placed in the Department of the Interior and the Department of Labor throughout my administration. Appointing the first Latina on the Supreme Court of the United States. When you look at my track record, I think the Latino community can say that this is somebody who cares about us, who listens to us, and who believes in us. And I think that's a sharp contrast with the other candidate. And I hope that we have terrific turnout in Colorado among the Latino community, because it's absolutely critical to the overall election. The Latino community in Colorado can ultimately determine who ends up being the next president of the United States.
Mr. President, indeed, we have been stressing precisely that, the importance of the Latino vote, and hopefully the listeners will heed your advice. Once again, thank you so much. As we say in Spanish, la mejor de las suertes en el mes de noviembre. Muchas gracias. We will replay this interview a couple of times throughout the day on this Que Bueno network with the proper interpretation in Spanish. Once again, please, if you will, in the future, call us again. We'll be very happy to talk to you. And buena suerte. Best of luck, sir.
Muchas gracias. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. El presidente de los Estados Unidos, Barack Obama, uniéndose a nuestro programa, nuestra programación, diré más bien, a través de la cadena Qué Bueno, aquí en el precioso estado de Colorado, la ciudad de Denver. Vamos a trabajar ahora en la interpretación de este diálogo y estaremos reprisando precisamente esta entrevista durante el programa La Voz del Pueblo y durante Cambalache. Gracias a todos quienes cooperaron con la realización de esta entrevista, que es histórica, mis queridos amigos, porque por primera vez en la historia de la radiodifusión en español. Aquí en el estado de Colorado, el hombre más importante del mundo se dignó levantar el teléfono y hablar con nosotros. Y esto gracias a ustedes, gracias a su sintonía y gracias a precisamente a esa fidelidad, a ese patrocinio que ha hecho que esta estación sea la más prestigiosa aquí en el estado de Colorado. Retomamos el ritmo de la programación y agradecemos profundamente a nuestro buen amigo, el secretario del Interior, Ken Salazar, porque él jugó un rol importante en lograr este diálogo, esta entrevista histórica. Regresamos con Piolín por la mañana.